Being an immature, stupid, trend-fueled Muay Thai novice with inferiority complex, I decided that I was going to fight two people. What's up guys, Derek, moreplates.com. Today we are going to be talking about more Tren bologna sandwich tales. This is almost a bedtime ritual at this point. You go to, lie in your bed, listen to some MPMD, tell you a lullaby about the fucking Tren bologna, and some guy getting his life ruined trying it for the first time. So anyways, this one is my Tren story. Dunks, fight, and gyno. Hey, what's up everyone? I've been seeing everyone talk about their stories dealing with this monster of a substance, so I decided why not tell my story. It began in the winter of 2011. I was a 19... I'm just like imagining all of the MPMD followers like huddling up around the fire, and I'm like on a fucking recliner, like opening up the goddamn Tren bologna sandwich fucking massive book of fucking tales that's accumulated over the years and picking out a glorious one to give before we all turn in for the night. It began in the winter of 2011. I was a 19-year-old fresh off of my first breakup with my first girlfriend. Fucking classic, bro. I was a mess, extremely okay, I shouldn't joke about this. I was a mess, extremely depressed, even suicidal. Again, do not let a chick who dumped you in your teen years be the propellant, is that a word? The thing that propels you into injecting yourself with Tren bologna sandwich. It's not what you want to have happen. It should be a very measured fucking approach. It should be for something that actually warrants it, not for some fucking teenager. Up until now, I began lifting weights about 2 years prior, but it was nothing special, but that was just about 5'8", 160 pounds, 172 centimeters and 72 kilograms. However, weightlifting wasn't necessarily my goal. Basketball was my passion, but I very much enjoyed bodybuilding, so I used that interest to supplement my basketball goals. I was fairly athletic, as I was a very fast runner and a pretty good jumper. It was pretty bad overall, however. See, it's interesting because I actually found that gear and working out fucked up my basketball game severely. Like my perfect goddamn stroke three-pointer, the muscle memory got thrown way the fuck off once I started working out. Anyways, after the breakup, I began to try to find out how to make myself feel better and how to make her regret leaving me. Classic. My good friend, who was also a young bodybuilder, began telling me about these substances known as pro-hormones, specifically one known as Tren. I did a quick Google search and took about a week before I made my decision that I wanted this compound, but I felt that I needed to get into better shape. Spent about the next month or two training really hard basketball, weightlifting, eating, and I was honestly looking pretty good at that point. I even joined a Muay Thai gym. Somewhere around mid-November, I was introduced to the local dealer of the area who surprisingly had been one of my teammates on the local adult league I joined. He explained to me that this stuff was going to make me a monster and gave me enough to last me about 2 months. Well, I don't remember the exact dosage. I do remember it was called Razor Troll. What the fuck? What preceded was probably the awesomest feeling I've ever felt in my life. My confidence grew to the point where I actually improved in my own sport. I went from about 155 to 175. My strength gains before were pretty weak. 5'8", 150 to 155 bench, 135 by 6 to 8 for pull-ups. What the fuck am I reading? What? Oh no, this is it. His stats are 5'8", 150, 155 pounds. His bench was 135 for 6 to 8. Pull-ups, he could do 2 or 3. Squat, 135 for 15 to 20. Deadlift, he could do 115 for 10. Vertical jump, 36 to 38 inches. We had a pretty good vertical. After 2 months of Tren, 5'8", 170, 175 pounds. Bench, went to 185 for 5 to 6. Pull-up, 6 to 7. Squats, 225. People are gonna fucking nuke this guy in the comment section. Squat, 225 for 10 to 12. Deadlift, unknown. Vertical, at least 40 to 41 inches. Wow, fucking air up there, buddy. The worst part about the train at this point... What? The worst part about the train at this point was that I became... And you guys who... the street ball guys will know what fucking air up there is. The worst part about the train at this time was that I became very quiet and serious, but that could have been attributed to the fact that I was very much depressed after finding out that my ex had gotten with a guy nearly a few weeks after we had broken up. Muay Thai was great too. 2012 began. I finally landed my first job as a lab technician and lens crafters. I kept about half of my games and I felt pretty good about my life at the moment. However, I missed that rush and power that I got from Tren. Dude, what are we even talking about? He took Razor Drawl and thought it was Tren? Like, what the fuck? Why would somebody label their stuff as razor drawl if it was Tren? I would just call it Tren. Even if I was a salesman, why the fuck would I mislabel it like that? So anyway, I don't even know if he took Tren, but let's just assume he did. However, I missed that rush in power that I got from Tren. So I decided about a month after my first job that I would get another cycle, but this time use all my money to try to transform. Somewhere around April 2012, I did just that, and this is where I began to turn into something different. I went from about 160, 165, now about 5 to 10 pounds heavier than before, all the way up to about 185. My strength shot up like never before, and I also became really freaking sweaty. 5'8", 160, 165 pounds, bench 135 for 10, pull-ups maybe 5, squat 185 for 10, vertical 38 to 39 inches. After second cycle, 5'8", 180 pounds, bench 225 for 13, pull-ups 12 to 15, squats 315 for 10, vertical 42 to 44 inches. Wow. In my opinion, while I was literally big at this point compared to where I was before, the proudest accomplishment for me was the fact that every time I played basketball, I left people in awe. I don't know if other individuals on the subreddit understand what that means, but as an individual who was bullied and ridiculed throughout high school for being skinny and unathletic, and who had worked hard to improve and his favorite sport, the fact that I was now able to catch lobs, and dunk on people being relatively short for my sport and Hispanic was fucking sick. Yeah, with a 42 to 44 inch vert, buddy, you're fucking soaring over people. Unfortunately, I don't mean that sarcastically, that's a fucking sick vertical. Unfortunately, I began to get hit with side effects. While the ability to fly and get really, really strong was sick, I began to develop lactating nipples and a almost psychopath level of anger. While I was training really heavily with weights, basketball, and martial arts, I lost my temper many, many, many times at 24-Hour Fitness and LA Fitness. So much so that I actually had my account terminated at LA Fitness for the brawl that I got into. For some reason around this time, man, if you think back, I don't know about you guys, but even some of the Tren cycles back in the day, I'm fairly calm, but I could even catch myself being one of those fucking goofs who would mean mug you for no reason, because I just think, you just think you're hard as fuck. But in your head, you're also a paranoid, borderline, you're not clinically insane. Some people actually basically get clinically insane, but you definitely are another level of, especially when you combine immaturity of being early 20s or even teens, even worse, with the fucking Trenbolone, perpetual sympathetic drive, fucking hyper vigilant state. You just end up such a douchebag, and you just every single thing, at bars, you're looking for shit, you're looking for problems. You're not even there to have a good time, really. You're there to be a hard motherfucker, and it's just a dumb mindset, and it's just silly. Unfortunately, I began to hit with sides, blah, blah, blah. Where are we? For that reason, around this time, I developed some sort of tendency to go after the biggest guy on the court to try to dunk on them. Because we are not professional athletes and just regular humans, people really don't appreciate that, but I felt that because I was depressed and miserable, I was going to inflict pain on others for being taller than me. Wow. My ex's new boyfriend was taller than me. Ha ha ha. All of this aggression reached its zenith as I decided to take a third cycle somewhere around the winter time of 2012. I told myself that this would be my last cycle for many years, and that I only wanted to do it for 4 weeks, but to be honest, I honestly think that I was developing an addiction looking back. I don't necessarily remember what my gains were from this, but I think at this point I had plateaued hard, and I think I noticed that within the first week. This cycle only lasted about 2 weeks, as in week 2, I nearly lost my life. While I was driving to school on a random November afternoon, I apparently was speeding and cut off another individual. This individual, or should I say individuals, or what people would call gangbangers, when they pulled up to me at the next light, the individual in the passenger seat decided to I'm assuming, a beer bottle directly out his window into my window and at my face. The bottle broke and I was left quite confused, as I did not even know where it came from. As blood going to drip down my forehead, I realized what had happened, and I chased them down in my 2008 Kia Spectra with transmission problems. As I swerved through traffic like a maniac, I Need for Speed Underground 2, I pulled a crazy right turn into a dead-end street where the two guys got out of the car and were waiting for me and yelling. Being an immature, stupid, trend-fueled Muay Thai novice with inferiority complex, I decided that I was going to fight two people. I nearly went over the bridge that was next to us as I was making that crazy right turn, and I jumped out of my car and immediately took off my shirt yelling, "Let's fucking go." The individual who was driving stood back by his door. He was Hispanic, a little taller than me, very skinny with a cholo handlebar mustache. The guy who threw the beer at me was the one who got out of the car and ran up to me. He was also a slightly taller sort of fat cholo, dressed like a typical foo you'd see in Foos Gone Wild. The fight ended quite quickly as the man proceeded to throw a wailing right hook of a punch in which I simply blocked, went for his knee with a push kick, and proceeded to knee him in the face. When he went down pretty hard, he was bleed. He went down pretty hard, he was bleed. Now this is where things get crazy after he bleed. And I realized that I was about to die. The other guy, instead of jumping in, proceeded to run to the other side of the car, the passenger side, and get something out of the passenger seat. When I saw him run, I immediately saw it was weird, and I decided to run after him, but go inside of the car and try to grab him on the other side. When he went for his glove box, I basically jumped into his car and grabbed his arm and climbed out and started punching him to the best of my ability as he was also punching me. At this point, this was getting really out of hand, as I'm pretty sure he was going for a gun. The next thing I knew was some really tall old white guy came out of nowhere, grabbed me, and threw me off the other guy. Apparently, this white guy thought I was the one who was attacking these two men and then proceeded to yell at me that he wanted to fight me now too. At this point, I was so confused and honestly really scared, so I decided to basically run, get in my car, and drive off. After I was far enough from that area, I got out of my car and started crying. I thought to myself, who the hell does this? After I got over that, I went home and threw the rest of the product away and called my dealer and told him what had happened. He basically blamed me, which is fair, and that was that. Since I had no idea what PCT was, I basically just thought that the hormones would disappear on their own. I was wrong. I'm pretty sure I had my testosterone shut down as I got back with my ex, no dude, in early 2013, and suffered from erectile dysfunction for at least a year. My nipples stopped lactating, but to this day I still have some gyno in both. I also managed to affect my hairline slightly, as I used to be able to get really clean lineups. My ability to do so disappeared coincidentally around the time I was about 21. 9 years later, I look back at the nonsense, and I definitely agree with Derek that you should not take substances as a kid, and you should definitely not take substances because you feel depressed because a girl dumped you. Tren was awesome, but I fear that my own anger/aggression would lead me down a path of destruction. Too long didn't read, gained about 30 pounds in 3 cycles of Tren, was able to dunk on people, and people called me the Mexican Kobe. Got in a fight that almost cost me my life, and the same to stop. Been dealing with the side effects for 9 years. Wow, dude, that was a fucking hectic one. Like, I've read some crazy stories on this subreddit, and that was a wild one. It actually had me like on the edge of my fucking seat. So anyways, especially when you are a fresh 19-year-old off a breakup, is the move to get on gear? No, and it's especially not to get on Tren. Now, I understand why somebody would be drawn towards getting on gear to expedite the self-improvement process and, you know, show how much better they've gotten, you know, to their ex and whatnot. But at the end of the day, if you're not ready and you don't understand this stuff, you don't understand it. You shouldn't be just jumping on shit just because something happened in your life that's making you even more impatient than you already might have been to begin with. And definitely not, you know, Tren before, like, when your brain is still in its developmental process. Like, I don't think anyone would think that they were the same maturity at 21 as they are in their late 20s. Like, most guys start to change quite significantly, and some of the shenanigans and shit I would do as a 20-year-old is significantly different than the shenanigans I would do now. Well, frankly, I wouldn't be doing fucking shenanigans at all. But back then, you know, dumb fucking shit you would do that you would justify. And when you throw Tren into the mix, it's just fuel on the fire for like dumb fuck shit that you don't want to be associating yourself with, and can get you into situations like this apparently. So I'm not saying that Tren is like the devil compound or anything, but again, it definitely is not something you need for very basic stuff like building muscle when you're, you know, what was he, 160 pounds, you know what I mean? So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed that one. I thought it was entertaining. Thank you guys for watching, and I'm glad to hear this guy is fine, because that was a fucking sketchy scenario. Thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, check out my blog, moreplates.com. Follow me on Instagram at moreplates. Facebook, Snapchat, BitChute, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts. If you want to support the channel, you can check out anything I'm associated with in the video description below. My TRT clinic. It's all telemedicine from the comfort of your own home. Gorilla Mind, nootropic formulas, Gorilla Mode, pre-workout formulas. I design myself from scratch, and my recommended lab tests and diagnostics. Anything else I'm associated with, it's all in the video description below. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.